small group, we can give and take. I'm going to let them kind of introduce themselves rather than me introducing them. We do have success stories as well as professionals on our panel today. And I think somebody from American Surrogacy is going to pop in too, so we'll have surrogacy. So, I will let Christine start.
Hi, I'm Christina Miller. I'm with Reproductive Family Law Center, and I'm an attorney specializing in third-party reproduction. So egg donor, sperm donor, gestational carrier, embryo donation, all of that fun stuff is in my wheelhouse. So I'm here to tell you a little bit more about what's going on, what the differences between Kansas and Missouri are. So any questions that you have as they tell their stories, we can go through and answer your questions about that. I brought a couple of little handouts for you that I'll be going around at the end that detail like what's the process, why is legal involved, all of that good stuff. So thank you so much for having me here.
Charles.
5 years ago, we did the reproduction, and our daughter is now 5 years old.
We'll let them do more of a story here.
Well, I'll tell you more.
We're John and Heather Green. We have now a little 6-month-old guy, and we went to the donor sperm.
I'm Brandy out of Alling. I'm a women's health nurse practitioner in fertility. So I'm here to kind of speak on all of the above, really, and from a medical perspective, and answer those questions.
I'm Courtney Wells. This is my husband, Jason. We used a donor egg, and we're currently expecting twins this summer.
The way I did it in the adoption session was we just saw whose picture was up first and that's what
That was a bad lottery.
Well, I didn't send the pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Winner is Jason!
Alright. Oh, now they're just rolling. How do I know this?
So we've been trying, we started about a little over 3 years ago trying to start our family. After about 6 months of no success, my OB drew some labs and we found out my progesterone level was very low. So we started on supplements or progesterone pills, and I use predictor kits every month to check my ovulation. About 6 months later, I got pregnant. Within a few days of the positive test, I miscarried. And then I got pregnant again the next month because we didn't listen to them when they said wait, we tried again. And I made it a few days longer, but again miscarried within about a week, which was pretty devastating for us. So that month, I got in right away with a doctor, and he diagnosed me with diminished ovarian reserve after a lot of labs that they drew. And we were with him for about a year and a half, and that span we did treatment almost every month. Well, in about a year we did meds by mouth, timed intercourse, injectables. We did 3 IUIs. Nothing got me pregnant, and then we did an IVF in May of 2014 with my eggs, which he suggested, and we were both on board with that just to give that a try, and that did not work either. In November, we did our second IVF with donor eggs, and we had kind of known when we got that diagnosis, I kind of assumed that we would just go straight to a donor egg, so when he suggested our eggs, we were both okay with that, but we were kind of surprised. So we were already ready for the donor egg as our next, I guess, option. So we did that in November, and now we're pregnant. We've had 4 embryos initially, and 2 made it to the day of transfer, and we put both in. And so we're happy with that. We knew that there was a chance of multiples, so nothing bad. I think I got it all in there.
Did you use fresh or
Oh yeah, we But as soon as we found someone that was kind of my height, hair color, eye color, we just selected her and we paid, and basically the eggs just got shipped to the doctor's office, and just like our other IVF, we just showed up and everything was ready to go. So it was a really pretty easy, smooth process, so.
Very cool.
I think it's us.
Yeah.
Okay. That's our little guy Jace. That was about a month old. But so we've been together since high school, and so you start those questions of when are you gonna get married? Well, then we got married. Well, when are you gonna have kids? I wanted to finish graduate school, so we did that. We get to 2011, and okay, we're ready to start a family. I'm almost done with school. Graduation's coming, and why would 20-something-year-olds have an issue getting pregnant? It should just go very easily, and it did. And so we are back and forth with our doctor, and we did a sperm sample, and the test results didn't really seem quite clear. So it's a little gray area there. So we go a little bit longer, and still nothing. We're now probably to first part of 2013, I think, actually, by then. And did another sperm sample and came back with basically no traces of sperm. And so then we meet with an endocrinologist to find out what's going on, and did some genetic testing, and John has Klinefelter syndrome, which is XXY, renders him sterile. They said that there's a chance we could try to recover sperm, but it's slim chances, and it's really, really expensive. So it's kind of one of those, decide where you want to put your money, and how important is the genetic part to you. So that took some getting used to for us, because we just expected our kids would be, our kids genetically. And so once we kind of settled out with it, then we started looking at cryobanks, and we also went with the frozen route. Same thing, you're looking at profiles. We kind of went, with the national heritage of kind of a melting pot. We both are. So went with something of similar height, hair color, and the blue eyes. We both have blue eyes, and genetically we should have a blue-eyed child. So that was important to us. And we started with the Reproductive Center in May of 2013. And it took us 4 tries to an IUI. Once we got into, we did 3 with just oral medications. Once we started the injectables on the 4th try, then it took, and I was pregnant on our 2nd try, but I didn't make it past about 7 weeks. So that was, we were so excited we were pregnant, and then not. But then last January, when I got pregnant, and we have our little guy. It was, kind of bizarre. We weren't sure what our plan was as to, who knows, and it's basically very, very close friends and family that even know. So coming to this was kind of even a big deal too. But our little guy, everyone looks at him and goes, "Oh, he's definitely a daddy's boy." I mean, and so it, it makes you feel good that just kind of by picking some characteristics that are somewhat close to you, people will only ever know that he's not genetically our child if we help. It's not confirmed. So he's our baby.
How do you guys feel about that? Because I struggle with that. It's not my age of necessity sperm. It's hard to get past that. And I can get past that thought, or is that?
For me, the day he was born. The day he was born, and I'm holding him in my arms. He's mine. That's the only father that boy's ever gonna know. So for me, it was there. I wake up every night, or in the middle of the night, I'm the one getting the feeding. Nobody else is there to do that for you. So, for me, when I found out, it felt like somebody kicked me square in the chest. Because I wanted my own boy. And once he was here, he is mine. Genetics don't matter anymore.
And he's right. He's right from every patient and every parent. And I know you're afraid you won't feel that way, but I promise you, you will. And I applaud him so much, because we all know that macho man
hard on all of us. But I don't know.
I had a hard time when I was told the problem was my eggs. And that was pretty early on, before first IVF. And I had about a week of really bad days. And I don't know, when I just got over it, I said I want a baby. And we were not opposed to adoption, but we both wanted me to be able to experience, for me to be pregnant. And so, I don't know, I think I just went through like the grieving process like you do in any situation, and I was mad and depressed, and then I accepted it and said, this is gonna work, because problem's my eggs and we just have to move on. And I'm aware that, like, sometimes I forget, I guess, because, I mean, they're my babies, I'm carrying them, and I think, I don't know, I'm sure it'll be in the back of my mind, and I'm very open with it. I can't remember who of our family we've told, who we haven't told, and like the doctor had said, he's like, no one has to know besides us, but it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't bother me. So, they're still mine, but it was hard at first. At first I thought, if they don't get to do my genetics, they don't get to have yours. And then, I know, I was in the angry part, but
I was proud of you, you only took a week. I took an entire month. You know, it was an entire month for me of just getting my head around that. Okay, baby's gonna get here, but baby's not gonna get here the way I thought baby was gonna get here. And not only is it me, it's the kick in the stomach me, you know. We tried everything.
How do you get there emotionally if you and your spouse are not on the same page? Where I'm from, quite a few people here without my spouse, because I'm at the point where we have a child, and so it's secondary materially, so it's a little bit different. But I am just as desperate to have another child, and I have been at the point for a while that egg donor is completely fine. Embryo donor would be fine, a baby would be fine, but my spouse isn't there, and he's gotten to the point where he would do the donor egg, but it still has to be his sperm. And like, how do you, I don't know, how do you change the emotional place of where the other person is if you're not on the same page?
For me, it was a hard thing to swallow. I wanted a baby. And for me, I knew I wanted Heather as the mother of that child. Whether it was my sperm or not, I wanted the baby. But to go that route was a hard thing to swallow. I'll be completely honest.
It took time.
It took a lot of time and a lot of talking between the two of us, and where do we want to be?
Sometimes they need to hear it from the physician if he hasn't been to an appointment with you, and then there's a couple of counselors that really specialize in that and trying to help you get on the same page.
Because we absolutely had that similar thought about, well, if it's not one DNA, then it's neither of our DNA. Like, I mean, it definitely crosses your mind, because you're not sure, well, is that fair that only one of us, you know, is part? But I think eventually getting to the place that we knew what we wanted, and that was a baby, the rest didn't matter.
It took me 8 years. It took me 8 years to get on the same page as my husband. My husband wanted a kid, and he knew he wanted a kid. He knew of my diagnosis. My diagnosis was 16 years ago. And so he knew about it the entire time. We've been married 13 years. He was ready on day one. And it took him 8 years to convince me that it's gonna be okay.
And I would say too, to find families that you can connect with that have chosen an alternative model. To let him, I have plans to meet with the family about adoption soon, where the husband's just got a few questions and he's ready, but he's not sure. And I'm like, before you meet with us, have him write down all his reasons why not. Why not? And then let him come talk to us, and then let's talk about those. Let's get him out in the open, and let's discuss what's real and what's not, what he's just, come up with in his head. And let's let him talk to multiple adopted families to see that we all say the same thing. And nobody pays us to say that. So that's another suggestion that I would have, to trying to get him in contact with other families within the facility. Chris?
Yeah.
two of you coming together, agonizing over decisions of what to do, what's best for us, what's best for our marriage, and our marriage is important, and we want to make this decision together. So emotionally, we conceive this child. So without that emotional conception, there wouldn't be a physical conception. And with a physical conception, you have the help from another family. So accepting that family and what they have to offer to the child, and the child will be our day-to-day child. So parents are connected to kids in 3 different ways: biology, legal, and day-to-day. And of course, the day-to-day is what you give day-to-day, and that is a very important imprint for the child and as they learn about their process and the acceptance of it all. So it's doable. You just have to get through that emotional conception and it's not very, it's not what you have planned, but a lot of things in life isn't as we plan. And this is something that you can get together and make it happen.
I was just wondering, like, with your kids, how you guys plan on, do you plan on telling your kids, or how, because I feel, when the kid's adopted, that's almost easier to tell them than, well, I carried you, but I'm not really your biological mom, and so, what's your guys' plans with your kids to tell them, the whole story, I guess?
I think we plan to, right?
Really discuss that?
I'm a teacher, so like my mind's always going.
Yeah, I think about it, but I think that we will, especially because we're open, because we don't want someone else to. But I don't know, I guess it depends. We'll for sure make that decision once they're here, but I don't know how we plan to. We'll probably have to do some research as to the best way to go about that.
So I can kind of speak to a few that I'm not sure Chris can too, but some of the national conferences, the trend is more toward disclosure. Like how a long time ago adoption was hush-hush, and now it's really not anymore. The trend is going the same way with third party. It's still a very personal decision, and there's definitely still people that don't stand us up, and I respect that, that's fine. But know that secrets can be very hard on a family. Finally having a sit-down moment when your child is 16 and breaking the news. And keep in mind, they're probably gonna map their whole genome in first grade. So, gotta be careful about, and then you don't want anybody else to tell. If you plan to only tell mom and dad and doctor and this person and that person. So.
Well, and there's also legal implications for it as well. So, do you really want your kid to find that bill that's in your stuff when you're dead and be like, holy cow, what the hell? My parents didn't realize I mean, I thought he was my dad, I thought she was my mom, I thought they loved me, and they never told me this. Do you want that battle, or do you want to be that blubbering, crying, wonderful parent holding a newborn in your arms saying, hey, here's your story, and I'm going to get through this while I'm blubbering so that when you are old enough to understand your story, I am not blubbering anymore. So it's that protection of yourself.
Part of their story that just is always there. It's not a sit-down moment, it's just always there.
And then also from the legal aspect, if more parents wrote their will that only their biological grandchildren were to inherit because there's some step-grandchildren, well, your child is not a biological child then. So your child, you're yanking the rug out from underneath them because it's not a biological child, So it's all of these little factors that can play a role that we don't even think about. Because, who thinks about how grandparents wrote their will or how your will might be written already without disclosing some of this, because you don't have to adopt a baby that you gave birth to. It is your choice. And how that But if you are like normal married people who think, you know what, we've been through infertility, we can survive anything. I am not worried about our marriage. I'm not worried about my spouse coming back and saying, well, we used not your DNA and therefore you're not the mom, you're not the dad. That's a whole different ballgame, you know? It's just really your comfort level, it's like you're willing to risk on which direction you go. But then again, it also has those implications on what other people do as well.
And then you're gonna, I have not used donor, we were matched with an embryo donor before we got matched with our birth mom for our 4-year-old, but we have adoption, and so adoption has been part of his story since we've got him. I mentioned that you grew in Maggie's belly, and, you know, I tried to put it on his terms, and we went to an adoption party, and I was so excited that we were going to an adoption party for somebody else. I was trying to explain to him that, and he was like, is there gonna be cake? I mean, like, he we were at Toys R Us, we ran into his birth grandma and his 2 biological half-sisters. And so when we got done with that, I said, hey, do you remember me telling you grew in Maggie's belly? She's got that down, he knows. Those are actually Maggie's daughters. Like, I wasn't gonna do the whole brother-sister connection because he's not really old enough to understand that, but I was just trying to just plug it in there since we saw him. And he's like, yeah, are we gonna buy Iron Man? So his focus, he could care less, but I want that conversation to be there, and I want him to have heard those words and like he's got that he grew in Maggie's belly, except for a brief moment there was a concern. My niece's stuffed animal is named Maggie, and I came to the determination a year ago that when I was saying he grew in Maggie's belly, he was extremely concerned that he grew in stuffed animal's belly. We didn't have to clarify that, but I mean, like I dread those moments, and I know we're gonna have terrible conversations down the road. It's almost impossible to avoid that. But, and you know, they're gonna question if they know they came from something other than your egg and your sperm, but he's gonna have heard this term store, it's not that big reveal. The big reveal is what I want. And as a mental health professional, I would encourage everybody not to blame on the big reveal. That's my 2 cents. Amy's also an adopted mom, she seems
I am, and my son is black, and my husband and I are white, so obviously there's no way to not tell him. So, I mean, obviously it's been, you know, it was always very open, but again, I cannot stress enough. I mean, he'll be 4 in July, and he thinks it's funny that, you know, he's brown and all the rest of us are white, and every time he sees somebody, they're white, they're brown. But he's, the adoption, the word, the discussion, everything has been just such a part of his life. I had friends that their parents didn't tell them until they were 16, 18, and it did some serious damage to them. They felt like they've been lied to their entire life. I really recommend, even though it's not, I mean, it's your choice, you know, to be honest with your kids if possible, you know, if you're open to it.
It's just one more funny, we're here to talk about the embryo adoption or donor story here in just a second. And we were matched with an embryo donor, and one of the embryo donors that was going to donate their embryos to us, that father was, the genetic father was Hispanic. And when we were talking about it, I was like, oh, shoot, I would need to tell the nurses, like, we did this. Because my Caucasian husband is going to be standing there, and what if the child comes out, you know, with like a ton of dark hair and a little bit darker skin? They would be like, I don't know what's doing this. So that's just something that, I mean, you never would think about, but it was very funny to think about. All right, Charles and Kimberly, you're up.
We were married kind of late in life. We got married in 2001. I was 2002, sorry. I was 36.
We forget you.
Yeah, my baby brain has never gone away, and it doesn't. Don't fall for that. I was 36 at the time we got married. Started trying immediately. Kept up until 2006, and I finally got tired of it. Went to the doctor, tested, and found out that I was already in early onset menopause. So my eggs were shot. Not going to happen, or at least that's what I was told. And also that I was insulin resistant. Started on metformin, started losing weight. Within 6 months, I was actually pregnant. Lost it. And that is at the point where I said that we're going to just adopt. I was fine. It never bothered me, and I don't think it really ever bothered him that we might not have a child that was genetically ours. So I said, we're going to adopt. And the doctor handed me a brochure for Chris Probasco, because he said, this is the lady you need to talk to. But when I got home, I looked at the brochure and it said embryo adoption. And I called the doctor back and I said, is this a possibility for me? And he said, there's nothing wrong with your uterus, there's no reason you cannot carry an embryo as long as it's not your own. So we called Chris in December of 2007 and made an appointment to see her in early 2008. We went in and we saw her, and she had a couple that was going to be coming in to donate embryos in 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks to get our adoption book ready. And we did this in 3 days. We got this book ready and got it to her, and we had been told that it could take years to match. And I knew that the older I got, the less likely it was. We matched with that couple. They even physically resembled us. And so we took possession of the embryos, was it March or April of that year? Yeah. But we did not, we had some, the first 2 embryos transferred in August of 2008, and they didn't take. So I knew that we only had one more chance left. I was well past 40. And so in 2009, in July 2009, we had the last 2 embryos implanted, or transferred, I'm sorry. I was just positive that they hadn't taken. He was positive they had. He won. And 9 months later, in March of 2010, our daughter Sarah was born. She was breech twice. She flipped over and was all ready, and then just right before went in to have her, she flipped back over, and so ended up having a C-section, but she was healthy. She is beautiful, she's precocious, and we have never kept it a secret. She has known since she was old enough to comprehend anything, that she has another family out there, that I carry her. She does know that because she asked me one day if I was her real mommy, and I said yes, and I got out the pictures again, and I said, remember, this is you in my tummy. You are our child. We went through Kriegel and Kriegel. We legally adopted her. So she is our child in every way. She is just not genetic, our child. We have never felt any differently about her. She is our baby. I don't think you never had any, not from, if you see the picture of him holding her right after she was born, she was his,
I helped her before she did.
Yes.
Because she was laid out with the C-section, and I was watching, the nurse get her cleaned up, and they finished that and just handed her to me because I was right there.
And if you see this picture, there was never any doubt in his mind that that was the right decision. When she gets older, if she wants to contact the genetic family, we are okay with that. We keep in touch with them. It was an open adoption. Her genetic family is not overly interested in keeping touch. I mean, we're not in constant contact. I send them updates once a year, and they know that they can ask anytime they want. There has been no talk of us ever meeting, but I have told, or Charles and I have talked about it, and if Sarah someday wants to meet them, I'm okay with that. She does know that she has genetic siblings out there. Every now and then she'll ask if she has brothers and sisters, and sort of. She's only 5, so we're trying not to put too much information on her, and mostly it's just that we'll talk about it in front of her so she's comfortable with it. She's asked a few questions, and we've just answered the basics. We're trying not to overwhelm her with information. But when the time is right and she is ready to hear the whole story from beginning to end, we'll tell her. Show her pictures of her genetic siblings, because they do send us pictures of their kids too. That's we can't do it again, I mean, we're done. But, the advantage, I think, was that, we are older, so we had a lot out of our system. We were ready to start making the sacrifices that you need to for kids. She wears us out. We don't have the patience we probably should. But she's a happy, healthy little girl, and she is all ours. That's the most important thing. She is all our child and always will be. And I just like to add something. I don't always agree with everything Dr. Laura says, but one thing she says has always stuck with me. Parenting doesn't have anything to do with genetics or with biology. Parenting is in the person, not the genes. So that's just, that always got me through. That really helped me when we came to that decision. But like I said, for us, it was never an issue because we just knew we wanted a child and we were ready to go the traditional adoption route.
I got a aunt that has adopted, 4, 5, 6 kids.
I think it's more than that now. I think we're up to about 10 or 12.
Who knows?
And
But
blended,
foster parents.
yeah.
And a lot of them that they adopted, they had a long time as foster kids. And all of the ones that adopted are all black. And, so,
Nobody- yeah.
they know they're adopted, but with everybody in the family, it's no big deal,
And that helps, having family that is accepting. And both of our families were just like, oh, that is so cool. And there was never anybody that ever said, wow, that's weird. So Sarah, this is all she's known. And it was just the perfect route for us. One other thing I would like to add, anybody that goes through IVF, if you have extra embryos, please consider donating them. Because that is one of the best gifts you can give somebody. So if they don't want to go the donor egg or the donor sperm, if they're willing to go the donor embryo route, it's a wonderful gift. It's just wonderful. So if you're wondering what to do with those leftover embryos, there you go. It's perfect.
We'll get to Brady and Christina here in just a second, but I do want to thank the panel again, because, as she said, it's not to be like your family is fine with anything. I think I know several people who have done a donor option who are not willing to share the donor option. So I think that people not being willing to share keeps everybody isolated, and there's not the support for people who need the support and need to hear that it's okay, because you may know a family that just had children and have no idea that they used a donor or of any kind. And so that doesn't help you if you have now decided, oh my gosh, we need to use an egg donor. I mean, you don't have support from them. So I wish the taboo around it or the secretive stuff could just kind of go away. I wish that, they used to be, you didn't talk about IVF or adoption either. Just adoption, you tried to adopt a child that looked like you so that you didn't have to tell anybody. And so I'm hoping that one day, because now, support group would come and it's like, for people to talk about donor egg, it's absolutely no, because so many people are doing it. We have several people in our support group who have used a donor of one type or another, so just kind of a plug for me.
The one thing I don't think anybody's brought up, if your child doesn't know, if something happens to mom and dad and there is a medical issue, they may think, oh, I've got leukemia, I need a